Greetings, fellow nerds of the internet. I'm Corey from Super Kami Guru 9000, and it's summer, it's hot, which must mean it's E3 time. E3 2015 is this week the biggest week for gamers, where a lot of the big companies like Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo all gather together to show off the big games they're going to be releasing over the course of the next year and the years to come. Now, this is just going to be just sort of my thoughts over what I've seen from a couple of the presentations, in particular from the big three, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and I'm not going to give each one a score. I'm not going to say that one company won. I just want to give my opinion on what I saw this year and some of my favorite things. So, let's go ahead and just start from the beginning. Let's start with Microsoft, which was the first presentation that I watched aside from the early Nintendo World Championship, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when I get to Nintendo. Microsoft did not blow me away. I didn't think their presentation was awful. I think they showed off some really great technology. And one of my favorite things about their presentation, of course, and this seems to be one of the big things that a lot of people love about their presentation, is that they announced backwards compatibility, which is a really big thing for their system, because Sony just sort of like completely ignored that. They didn't even attempt to do it because their brand new system was going to be using brand new hardware, and they didn't want to waste any time in trying to adapt to that, so they could just go ahead and move on to the next generations of things. But that sort of ended up biting them in the ass a little bit, and that's where Microsoft has sort of taken over, and they decided that they're just going to make a lot of their games backwards compatible. Now, apparently not every single game is going to be backwards compatible. It's only going to be a select number of ones, and the ones that are actually approved by the companies and Microsoft. But I don't know the 100% details on that, but I think that is really awesome. As far as the games they showed off, I really just wasn't all that impressed. To me, it was just a bunch of shooters and scripted sequences. Like, Tomb Raider looks nice. It looks like it's going to be an amazing game. But while watching that presentation, all I just saw was just people going through these big scripted sequences, which you're going to see every single time when you play the game. Really, not much is going to change. And it's not like we haven't seen something like this before. We've seen it from the Uncharted series. And ironically, the Uncharted presentation, which was very similar to Tomb Raider and everything, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, I was actually kind of impressed by that as well. They do a really great job of hiding the fact that they are these like big scripted sequences. But let's get back to Microsoft. As far as like the big games that they announced, really nothing sticks out to me. You know, I'm not the biggest Microsoft fan. In fact, I've never even owned a Microsoft system. Actually, no. I owned a 360 for about a year, but then I just decided to trade it in because I never played the system. But I always have friends who have it, and I always have an opportunity to play Xbox games, so it's not like I'm a stranger to Xbox One. I've played a ton of the games from it. Killer Instinct is by far my favorite. Of course, Halo 5 is going to be big, but then again, that's just another sequel, more shooters. And then we had Gears 4, which is the brand new Gears of War game, which just not for me. It's all dark and drab, and it just seems like the same old Gears of War that we've seen before. The entire demo, which was very similar to Tomb Raider, which was just running through hallways, looking at big set pieces, shooting things, and that's about it. So, Microsoft was okay. You know, like I said, aside from the games, I think their technology for their VR for Minecraft, when they showed that off, when you can actually like wear this headset and look at the actual map and move it around and everything, that's what was really impressive to me. That was the moment where I was like, oh crap, this is going to be just like in the Marvel movies where like Tony Stark is using his computer and moving things around and touching objects and just manipulating them like in real space, which is exactly what's going to be going on in this. It'll really give you an entirely new perspective on Minecraft, and adapting that technology to a game like Minecraft is also genius, because Minecraft is not exactly the most complex of games in terms of design, so this way they could take that simplicity and apply it to this new technology without it just completely falling apart, and I think that is really freaking clever. So there's Microsoft. I just didn't really care for it. If I were to give them like a letter grade, I'd give them a C-. That's just the way I feel about it. But let's talk about Sony. Sony blew me away. They did a fantastic presentation. They moved real quick through all of their big games, and they showed off some amazing stuff. First and foremost, the one game that surprised me the most is this brand new IP from Guerrilla Games, which is going to be called Horizon Zero Dawn, which is this post-apocalyptic third-person action game, which almost seemed like it was going to be about someone playing as like cave people or cavemen and fighting against monsters and things in the wilderness. But they're not going to be just fighting against animals and stuff. There's actually going to be these massive robotic dinosaurs, which, You know, when you're able to wrap your head around, like, what this whole concept is about, like, your inner 8-year-old is just going to freak out and get excited. Like, this is the type of game that, like, if I were a kid and I saw this, my mind would explode. It's just so ridiculous. You're a futuristic cave woman who's hunting down giant robotic T-Rexes and taking them out with bows and arrows while trying to collect their parts so that you can survive in this post-apocalyptic future. It looked gorgeous, it looked action-packed, it looked really atmospheric, and it looked new and fresh. That was the best thing. But my favorite thing from the Sony conference was that they decided to bring back The Last Guardian. This is a game that I've been following for years. I remember actually watching the trailer way back in 2009 when they showed it off for the very first time on PS3. It's making the jump to PS4. I think that's a really good move. Not only that, but the gameplay is just really interesting. If you've ever played Ico or Shadow of the Colossus, this is kind of like the ultimate sort of evolution of that. And in many ways, it's kind of like combining both of those games together where you have like that big setting that you saw from Ico, and the Colossus is actually now your friend and companion. And you can still like... You can see where they took the inspiration from Shadow of the Colossus. There's a lot of scenes of this big griffin dog-like creature, which is your companion in the game, which helps you get around all of like these big, massive castles. And what I really love about it is you can actually jump on him and climb him just like you did the Colossuses. You can use him to sort of like manipulate the environment and solve puzzles. And it just looks really atmospheric and just a beautiful game. Honestly, if you haven't played Ico or Shadow of the Colossus and you have a PS3, go pick up the HD versions of those games. They're all on one disc. They're absolutely amazing. Shadow of the Colossus is very well one of my favorite games of all time. It's easily in my top 10. Also, I'm not the biggest fan of Final Fantasy. You know, my favorite games in the series are like the first like 3 or 4, and I sort of just like jumped off ship at that point. And I did play through 7, and I liked Final Fantasy 7, but it wasn't my favorite game in the series, and that's the way it's always been. But the minute they announced that they're actually going to remake Final Fantasy VII, now I'm interested again. I really can't wait to see what they're going to do with it in terms of the new graphics, the storytelling. Hopefully they'll get a much better translator for this game, because I remember some of the translations in Final Fantasy VII were pretty freaking awful, and I just can't wait to see what they're going to do with this, if it's going to go back to the whole turn-based style RPG, if they're going to apply some sort of brand new battle system to it, maybe one of the more modern battle systems. I imagine they're going to go a little more old school with it, and frankly, I'm okay with that. I really like turn-based RPGs. If I play an RPG, that's kind of the way I prefer it. So that's really freaking awesome right there. I already mentioned that Uncharted looks absolutely amazing. It always looks good. It's always a great way to show off the power of the system. The entire demo that they showed off was just action-packed from beginning to end, and I really can't wait to see what Drake's next adventure is going to be. Now, that's really all I have to say about Sony. It was just a really done presentation. I'm sure I'm missing a few other things. Ooh, Star Wars Battlefront. That is what I am missing. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I've been waiting to see what the gameplay from the new Star Wars Battlefront is going to look like. It didn't disappoint. It looked gorgeous. They basically showed you this big battle. That was the Battle of Hoth. It looked amazing from beginning to end. Getting to control either the Rebels or be a part of the Empire, and now they were switching back and forth between them. On foot, in vehicle, snow speeders, walkers, frickin' TIE fighters. It literally feels like you're in the middle of a massive Star Wars battle, which is a great accomplishment. That with the next-gen graphics just really makes this one pop. And I really can't wait to see what they're going to do more with this, because this game is going to be releasing right before the brand new movie, The Force Awakens, is released. And this is a big opportunity. One, they're going to capitalize on the fact that a lot of these battles are using like the classic characters and assets from Star Wars, but now we got this new movie coming out. Are we going to see some brand new stuff? Are we going to see like the New Order? Are we going to see the Resistance group? Are we going to see the brand new Stormtroopers, Kylo Ren, Captain Phasma? Are we going to see any of that brand new Force Awakens material in this game? We're just going to have to wait and find out. So, if I were to give a letter grade to Sony, I would probably give them an A-. They just did a fantastic job. I was thrilled watching their entire conference, and I'm really excited for those games, especially for Horizon Zero Dawn. Robot dinosaurs and cave women, that is freaking metal. And last but not least, we have Nintendo. I literally just got done watching the Nintendo Direct. Right now, I'm currently sort of, watching over my shoulder the Square Enix conference right now. I've already seen some Kingdom Hearts stuff from them, which is really awesome. But Nintendo is, like, the company I'm obsessed with. They're by far the most classic video game company of all time. They feature my absolute favorite franchises. And the show opened up with an amazing bang. They did another one of their digital events, their Nintendo Directs, as opposed to doing like a big conference. In many ways that's good, in many ways that's bad. But they opened up with this just ridiculous sequence where Miyamoto, Iwata, and Reggie Fils-Aimé were all turned into puppets. And I guess the main reason for this is because of the actual inspiration behind Star Fox, which Miyamoto went on to explain that his inspiration for Star Fox was from that old marionette show, The Thunderbirds, which was also parodied in the amazingly funny movie Team America, and he sort of wanted to capture that essence of these puppet-like characters talking to each other in these warlike situations and these big dogfights, and that's what Star Fox is all about. And the brand new game, Star Fox Zero, I think it looks freaking awesome. This is the first step in the right direction for a brand new Star Fox. We need to realize this game has not been released yet. It's not going to be coming out until holiday 2015, so that gives them plenty of time to sort of polish up on this game. But what I love about it is that in many ways, it's again sort of another reboot of the franchise. You know, you had Star Fox on SNES, you had Star Fox 64, which sort of redid that, then you had Adventures, then you had Assault, then you had Command, and then 64 3D. Now, this one is sort of another reboot, so we're sort of going back to the drawing board, and you can definitely see that when they play the Corneria level, how it seems very similar to the original 64, but it still has its own twists behind it, and it's going to be going back to the original Star Fox team, which I think is best. You know, just Fox, Falco, Peppy, and Slippy, the way it needs to be. Seeing them all fly together, talking to each other, fighting brand new enemies, it is really nostalgic. And my favorite feature is one that they actually brought back from the canceled Star Fox 2 game on SNES, where the Arwing can actually transform into this mecha, which kind of looks like an Arwing, like, mixed with a chicken, which I think is pretty freaking weird, or maybe kind of like a robotic-looking dinosaur type thing, but you can go on foot, bipedal, shooting things on foot, which this is another good decision, because some people wanted on-foot Star Fox missions. I wanted them on foot as long as they involved vehicles, and from what I've seen from the trailer, this is a full-on, vehicle-only Star Fox adventure, which is also going to feature a few other new interesting elements. Not only are we going to have the Landmaster tank returning, which can go through another crazy transformation, where it almost seems like it has a much bigger booster, you're going to have the brand new mecha forms, you're also going to have this brand new sort of like mini helicopter type thing, which can actually drop this little robot down, which can actually, you can use to collect secret items and explore the levels, and you can use these different, like, weapons and abilities in different levels, which I think is just so freaking awesome. And of course, you know, you still got the gameplay, you have the way you can play on the TV or on the gamepad, use the gamepad to see from the cockpit's point of view, to aim, you can look at the TV if you want, you can use the gamepad, they're giving you options. So, I'm pumped for Star Fox, like, more pumped than I've been just about for any game from the entire conference. I am a huge Star Fox fan, though, like, massive, like, I'm completely obsessed with the series, and for us to finally get a true sequel to Star Fox 64 after so long, just, I really wanted to shed a tear. So bad, but I was just laughing along with how ridiculously excited I was for this game. I really can't wait to see how they're going to polish it up for the holiday season. I am pumped for Star Fox Zero. The rest of the Nintendo conference was not exactly that great. That's not to say there weren't some good games that were showed off. A few of them were very surprising. First, I'm a huge Paper Mario fan. I'm a Mario fan in general. Like, if I had to choose a favorite franchise, it would be the Super Mario series. I buy just about every one. I buy a lot of the spin-off games. And, you know, aside from Mario Tennis, which is just another Mario Tennis game, they have this other RPG game coming out, which is a combination of the Mario and Luigi series and the Paper Mario series, and that's just weird to me. I'm still trying to, like, figure out, like, how they decided and how they came to, like, that decision, because, you know, in my mind, anyway, you know, the Paper Mario series, the Mario and Luigi series, and even the other main Mario games, they all sort of, to me, took place in the same universe. Like, they could almost be a chronological story if they tried to piece them together, but then again, it doesn't really matter. There really isn't an order to the Mario games aside from the fact that Yoshi's Island came first, because it's all about Baby Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi. But that's a topic for another video. What's interesting about this is that they're mishmashing Paper Mario and Mario and Luigi, where Paper Mario, the actual paper version of himself, is going to be teaming up with Mario and Luigi from the Mario and Luigi series, which means that the Paper Mario series is like its own dimension. It's its own thing, its own separate entity, and now it's crossing over into this world, and they're sort of like combining the elements of the Paper Mario series and Mario and Luigi, and I gotta admit, it's strange. Like, when you see Paper Bowser talking to Mario and Luigi Bowser, you really see the extreme difference in the art and, like, how they talk to each other and what their abilities are going to be. There's a scene where Mario and Luigi are having this boss battle where they're trying to run away from this, like, big monster, and as they're jumping and dodging the attacks, they're actually grabbing onto Paper Mario in the air, who's transformed into a paper airplane. Like, they're actually combining the paper abilities into the battle system that we saw from the last game, and I think that's really, really clever, and I think that's going to be one of the more fun games to play on 3DS. Of course, speaking of Mario again, there's also Super Mario Maker, which I think is going to be great. It's the type of game, when I saw it at first, my first thought was, it looks okay. You know, I love playing Mario games, but I'm not the most creative person in terms of creating levels. It's like, I liked Little Big Planet, but I couldn't create any fun levels whatsoever. I always just ended up downloading other people's, and thank God that is going to be an option in this game where you're going to be able to share levels with friends and download others, and I'm sure the game is also going to come pre-installed with its own levels, but they've just shown so much off for this game, not only at the Nintendo World Championship, where that was the last match of the night. We really got to see what that game was all about and what sort of creative things you could do with it. So I'm amped for Super Mario Maker. I can't wait to pick it up. I love that there's going to be amiibo support because I'm currently collecting amiibo. Yeah, that's something that I haven't talked about quite yet. Something new that I'm going to do for the channel as well, so I'm going to start doing amiibo unboxings for you guys. I want to go into like full detail of what these amiibos look like. I only have a couple so far, and they're still in the packaging. In fact, because I was so hyped for Star Fox, I recently just ordered a Fox amiibo, so I really can't wait to see when it comes in. I'm really excited for that. As far as the other things that Nintendo released, really, just not all that excited. Like, I'm not a big Animal Crossing fan, but I was kind of looking forward to the fact that there might be one coming out on Wii U. In some ways there are, but it's actually like a spin-off. They're releasing this Amiibo Animal Crossing board game, which is basically Mario Party with Animal Crossing characters. And not the most exciting thing in the world, you know, but, you know, at least it's something for the Animal Crossing fans to enjoy. But my biggest disappointment of the entire show by far is this brand new Metroid game that they're releasing. Now, next to Mario and Star Fox, my other big favorite franchises are Metroid and Zelda. And there was a little bit of Zelda today. You know, nothing crazy, not the big Wii U game, which at this point I'm 100% convinced it's going to be moved to the next Nintendo system, which is known as the NX. And even after watching this presentation, I'm kind of convinced that Nintendo thinks maybe they need to abandon that Wii U ship within the next year and basically try to do everything they can to milk both Smash Bros. And Mario Kart before they get to the next system. But still, let's hope that Star Fox is going to be good. But let's get back on track. Let's get focused on Metroid. This brand new game is a 3DS game called Metroid Prime Federation Forces. Now, Metroid Prime series. We haven't seen like a proper Metroid Prime game in years. The last one was on 3DS, and that was technically a spin-off. And this is not a typical Metroid Prime game. And what's really interesting is this game was actually teased at the Nintendo World Championship, but they didn't say that it was a Metroid game. They just called it Blast Ball, and it's going to be a part of this side game which is attached to this, which essentially is like this like multiplayer 4-person like battle arenas where you basically play as like a Federation Forces Space Marine and you fight against aliens. Nothing about that is unique. There's absolutely nothing new or special about a first-person shooter game where you work with other people to kill aliens. It's just seems like a complete waste of using the Metroid license, and it's just not what I appreciated. I also do not like the art style for this game, because it's sort of going for like a cutesy, sort of chibi-eyes look. They claim that the soldiers are in these big mech suits, but they really just look like these like anime cutesy versions of Federation soldiers, each with like a different colored visor, and it just doesn't look as detailed. Obviously the game is still in development, and it just, I don't know, I was just kind of disappointed by that, because seeing that release just makes me realize, wow, Nintendo really just doesn't know what they're doing with the Metroid franchise anymore. And that got me thinking yet again, where the hell was Retro during this entire presentation? I didn't see them announce anything, and I was fully convinced that they were going to show off something amazing for the show, because their last game was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which was an amazing game, but, you know, it hasn't been that long since it was released, but I honestly was hoping we'd get a new announcement. I was praying they were working on the next Metroid series. Maybe they're working on something completely new, a brand new IP, but we really didn't get anything from them. So yeah, Metroid Prime Federation Forces, just a complete and total disappointment, especially for the Metroid fans. I don't want to judge it completely until I actually like play the final version of the game and see what it's really going to be all about. But as it stands, it's a Metroid game without Samus, with cutesy, chibi-ized graphics and a lot of stupid multiplayer features and things that don't belong in a Metroid game. Metroid games should be single-player, atmospheric, isolated adventures, and this is the exact opposite in pretty much every single spectrum. Other things that they announced, just a lot of, games that we knew about, like Xenoblade, that's already out in Japan. We have Yoshi's Woolly World, which comes out in like 2 weeks in Europe, and we don't even get it until October. That's pretty freaking mess that we have to wait that long in order to actually play that game. That would have been a great, late summer release, or maybe even a mid-summer release. That would have actually been good for the system because we'd have more games. I mean, we did just have Splatoon come out, and that is a pretty good game in its own right, but I still think we need a little bit more, something a little more substantial, and Yoshi's Woolly World would have been a fantastic fit for that. They also announced, well, they didn't announce it, this was leaked like a week ago, Hyrule Warriors is getting its very own 3DS version, which is going to come with Tetra and the King of Red Lions, the King of Hyrule from Wind Waker, and I think that's great. I wanted to see some Wind Waker characters in the game, but something that they didn't address and something I was really hoping they would, because in the leaked trailer last week, they made it seem as if you're going to be able to transfer those characters over to the Wii U version. They didn't even talk about that in the direct today, so hopefully that's something that they will address later on. But otherwise, yeah, just a lot of spin-off titles and things that just really didn't appeal to me. Nothing really big for the Wii U, which is just really problematic and kind of scary, because there just haven't really been any big massive releases for the system, and it really looks like they're going to be banking on Star Fox being their biggest game of the year, so they're going to have to market the hell out of that game. I also learned that apparently Platinum Games is co-developing that, and they've made some amazing titles like The Wonderful 101, they've worked on Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, Bayonetta. Apparently the people who worked on Bayonetta 2 are going to be helping to make this, and that makes sense because there was a Star Fox level that was actually in that game, and of course there were the costumes as well. So I think that's really good that they sort of came full circle on that. Otherwise, Nintendo, really, to me, my favorite things were Super Mario Maker, which, again, that's a game we already knew about, and Star Fox, a game that we knew about, but we haven't actually seen yet. Really just not that much new stuff. So Super Mario Maker, Yoshi's Woolly World, and Star Fox are 3 games that I will definitely pick up this year. It's just a shame that they aren't going to be coming out until the very end, and that's very disappointing for Nintendo fans. Otherwise, I still thought they did a pretty decent conference. They still had a lot of energy, and it was really funny at the beginning with the puppets and them transforming into the Star Fox characters. I was kind of hoping they would really go crazy with that and sort of make that the art style of the game, you actually see puppets when they're talking to you and stuff. I think that would make it even more unique and add a little bit more of camp and humor to Star Fox, which, I mean, just think about Star Fox. It's anthropomorphic animals that talk to each other and fly around in space. It's already pretty freaking ridiculous when you boil it down. So that's pretty much it. I've just been going on for a really long time now. I just wanted to give my thoughts about this year's E3 and some of the other big, things that they announced. E3 is still going on, so there's still a chance that these other companies and different developers are going to announce something. But until that happens, that's just the way it is. This is what I feel about this stuff right here. I still think Sony is the one who sort of took E3 this year, but otherwise, I just need to play these games. I need to see really what they're all about. So there it is. That's my thoughts on some of the big announcements at this year's E3. But what about you guys? Are you video game fans? Have you been following this year's E3? Did you have a favorite game that was shown off? Something new that you really look forward to play? What did you think of Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo? Please tell me your thoughts and your comments in the comments section below. Thank you guys again for watching. Make sure to like the video, share it with all of your friends, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews. And stay tuned, like I said, we're getting ready to do some big Amiibo unboxings. We got a Twitch channel that we're getting ready to work on. So video games are making their way into the channel. So we got some really big things to announce. So really great stuff. Thank you guys again for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching. And as always, stay dandy, baby.